for Monday, June 27th, 2016. I'd ask everyone in attendance to rise and join us in singing O Canada. Thank you to the National Film Board for the images of our country and to our very own Grand Prairie Boys Choir for the audio. We'll move on to the adoption of previous council meeting minutes. Can I have a motion to adopt that set of minutes? Councillor Clayton.
I would move that council accept the council minutes from June 13th to be approved as presented.
Thanks very much, Councillor Clayton. Any discussion or debate on those minutes? Any errors or omissions that we need to change before we adopt them? I don't see anybody ringing in, so I will call for the vote. I think I'm one short, Council. Just make sure. Thank you. That motion carries. And then we'll move on to the adoption of the agenda. Can I have a motion for the adoption of the agenda, Councillor Thiessen?
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. I would move that Council adopt the agenda with the addition of item 8.2, Highway 43 transfer.
Thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen. Any discussion or debate on the agenda? Again, seeing nobody ringing in, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. And that will bring us to the delegation portion of our agenda. This is an opportunity that we have at every regular City Council meeting for anyone in the community to come forward and address Council on any community-related matter. We had one delegation that let us know ahead of time that they're going to be here, and that's the Grande Prairie Residential Society. I see those gentlemen in the room. If you'd like to come forward, we'll just ensure that there's some space for you at the presenters table. And welcome.
Hi. Thank you, Mayor and Councillors. Thanks very much for receiving us. We're here sort of on a bit of a special mission. The Grande Prairie Residential Society, I think you guys hopefully all have little blurbs here. It's been around for about 30 years, and our initial mission was to provide housing to people with physical disabilities, something that wasn't around in the 80s or before. You pretty much had to either have the money to be able to renovate a space yourself, or you lived in a hospital, that type of stuff. We had I guess in Grande Prairie there was a bit of a crisis, and 3 families saw the opportunity to do something about it. That would be the Kraski families, the Ullman family, and the McNally family. And so they got together, started a working group, and that led to the formation of the Grande Prairie Residential Society in 1986. And then and they basically said, okay, we got to get some housing going. In 1987, they were successful in getting things going, and the duplexes that are up on 123rd Avenue, just off Crystal Ridge Road there, those 5 duplexes are the first and it was, again, with anything that's new, kind of thing takes a while to get off the ground and stuff, but they were pretty successful at that, and the buildings are great. They do a lot. They provide great housing. In 1994, the Residential Society again approached, well, actually, we're approached. We sort of were working hand in hand with the provincial government at the time, and we ended up with the little apartment building that's right beside the duplexes, which now houses seven people. And then in early 2000s, we were getting a big waiting list. So the waiting list was getting bigger and bigger. People didn't have any place to live, so we thought, well, let's see what kind of a project we can develop now. We actually, when we first started, thought maybe we would end up with a couple of duplexes, that type of thing, and wonder of wonders, we ended up with Margaret Edson Manor, which is out directly west of the casino, and that building, we were just really lucky. We partnered in a sense with the city. The city provided land and provided services. The provincial government and the federal governments came through and gave us a grant. And one of the things we said to them at the time was, "You'll never hear from us again in terms of us wanting more money from you," kind of thing, because the model that we had put together was one that should be self-sustaining, and in fact was. So basically, I'll cut to the chase here. With Margaret Edson Manor, we have 70 suites. 54 of them are affordable housing, so we're actually providing affordable housing, and as well as barrier-free. So we doubled the barrier-free units that we have in Grande Prairie and added this 54 units. Since that time, which is we started up, became operational in 2005. Since that time, we have housed over 308 households, total of 639 individuals who have sort of worked their way through Margaret Edson Manor and been able to, some of them have been able to buy houses, been able to save money, put it down for a down payment on a house. Others have moved on into bigger and better things as well. So, and we've had a partner in this with the Grand Spirit Foundation. The Grand Spirit Foundation's they manage our physical plant, and then they provide the rental market as well. We actually look after the housing of the people with disabilities. We have a point scoring system and stuff like that people use to I guess apply. So anyway, in 10 years of operation, I guess what I've got in the last paragraph is that we're really happy. This is our 30th year of existence, and this is the 10th year following the completion of the building. And our accountants gave us the word this just a couple of months ago that we've completed the recapture side of the things here. And so because the city is a partner in this with us, you might not even know this. I think Bill was present, and I'm not sure if you were, and Helen was, I know, when we first approached the city, and the city was really very supportive towards this project, and it was very important to us, and I think added a lot of credibility for us when we approached the government, the provincial and federal government. So that all sort of, anyway, the whole thing came together. It was like, I don't know what you think, Travis, it was like a fairy tale. Like how does all this come together when we have a bunch of people that don't have anything, really in terms of capital, and then all of a sudden we have created this 7-unit building. So it wasn't just us. There was a lot of people involved with this, getting it off the ground, getting it going and stuff like that. So now that we're there, what we've come to do is to actually present the city with some cash. So we have a check here for $55,000. It's almost $56,000 for you, and it's something that we will be every year from here on out. It'll be split 50-50. The net proceeds will be split 50-50 with the city. So you can use it for. I think the agreement says it's supposed to go towards housing, but who knows? Whatever. So anyway, who wants to grab the check?
I'd just like to say that,
Travis, sorry.
at the same time of doing this, working with the city, our volunteer board working together with Ground Spirit, and all our projects sort of started not knowing where we were going to go and what we were going to end up with. And Margaret Edson Manor was one of those, of our third project, that we started with thinking 45 units of houses. And when the opportunity come, when we started talking to the provincial and federal government to get that money, we were able to look at low-income housing and housing for disabled. So it's sort of helping out with that, and it's really turned out to be great as far as the people living there. They like living there. We've been keeping, like say, the rents low, and we're very proud of doing that and still keeping a well-functioned building. So
Yeah, it was kind of interesting, and Travis is right. They gave us money for 48 units, right? And we looked at the money they were going to give us as far as a grant and said, hey, we can build 70 with that kind of money. So that's what we did.
yeah.
Anyway, who would like to
Well, gentlemen, I'm certainly happy to come and receive a check. It's, it doesn't happen often in council chambers where we're receiving checks, so certainly I'm happy to do that. But I know there may be some questions or comments from council members. I see Councillor McLean is in the queue. Councillor McLean?
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. I think this is great news. The question I have is, I don't want to receive the check. I'd rather, I don't know where it's going to go. This is before my time. Be put into a reserve for future use of barrier-free or whichever. So I don't know what the city is planning with this check. This is before my time, but I think this is great news. But I'd rather the check be used within a certain frame. And I don't know how council feels, but I don't know the whole deal on this, what's happening. I think this is great news, but I'd like to receive it, but not just go away, stay for barrier-free down the road or something.
well, I guess I can alleviate your concern a little bit. We are looking to towards the next project, right, kind of thing. So if you guys wanted to sort of save up your money that we give you every year and put it towards that.
It always starts with just little mumblings and
Just to finish.
Sorry, go ahead, Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Given. From when I hear it here, I hope all councillors heard it, because I think if we do receive a check, they're looking at the next function down the road, and they showed a very positive return. And I hope that the money it's directed to the right reserve.
Just to speak a little bit to the history, I mean, the original concept was a global housing initiative, I think was the term that was used. And the intent was that any future project that the city participated in would be under this model. I think that was somewhat of the intention with Hearthstone Manor as well, that all the future projects that the city built after the mortgage was paid off, any revenue that came in from them above and beyond, the costs, that would go in to support additional future affordable housing projects. This is the first project that is at the point where it's paid off its mortgage, essentially. And so probably a worthwhile thing to refer to administration and say, okay, so now that this is starting to come in, what are we going to do with this? At one point, and I don't know if we still have that reserve, but we did have an affordable housing reserve. I think we may not have had any funds in it for a long time. We may have folded it. I'm not sure if that's the case or not. Mr. Anderson?
Well, Mayor Given, we still do have the housing reserve, and there is some funding in there.
Yeah. So there is a reserve. Thank you for that. There is still a reserve that's set up for a purpose of receiving these kind of funds that would give the city flexibility to be able to be a partner in any future projects. So, but I think probably worthwhile to might be something we want to refer to a committee to sort of look at the future use of that fund, considering that it's something that's actually going to be active now.
Sure. To be clear, we haven't actually paid off the mortgage. We're about halfway paying off the mortgage, but these are the net proceeds coming in from, half of the net proceeds coming in from the past year.
Okay, good. Thanks for the clarification. That's important. There are some others with questions or comments. Councillor O'Toole.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mayor Given. Thank you, gentlemen, for being great ambassadors, spokesmen, and jack of all trades when it comes to this sort of thing. So I know you're well known in the community for doing good things and speaking up, and thank you very much.
Councillor Tarrant.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just a question about the net proceeds. So do you allocate so much funding to a capital reserve fund prior to calculating the net proceeds? Okay.
Yeah, there is what do we call it? To say that there is a replacement reserve fund, I guess, that we have for stuff, and then we also have another reserve for the property itself, the building itself. And of course, it's insured and everything like that. So
right.
If anything happens,
we learned our lesson after because we thought after the 5 duplexes we were done. We had no idea, our society had no plans of doing any more at that time. There was just, you know, a few of us in chairs even out in public. Your options were going to a group home in Edmonton, or where I was living was the old hospital here, the auxiliary hospital. I don't think there's too many of you here that would remember that place. But yeah, that's sort of.
I see Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just a quick, when I told my wife Donna that you were coming today, and we read in the paper about the 30th anniversary, so just wanted to make sure that I said congratulations to you on her behalf as well. I know she was involved back in the day, and so she's very proud of that project and your work. So, and my comment is, yes, we do have some more land.
That's good to hear.
Okay, I don't see anybody else in the queue. So, gentlemen, I am happy to come up and receive a check, obviously, and so maybe I'll come around and join you out in front of the desk here.
Sure.
Also interesting, we have 2 recipients of the Director Award. Something you recognize the Director Award. Dale's been recognized with the Director Award. So really pleased to have.
I don't want to see the back of your head.
What's that?
Okay, and just so everybody sees this on camera, I am passing the check to the treasurer. Everybody knows it's gone where it's supposed to go. This is the delegation portion of our agenda. That's obviously some very happy news, and certainly appreciate the work of the Society over the past 30 years in terms of supporting members of our community. The extra contribution towards future affordable housing in the community is obviously really sort of tops it off, but I think the core work of the Society is making sure that people have great places to live in Grande Prairie, and that's a job well done. If there's anybody else that would like to present to council, you're more than welcome. You didn't have to be on the agenda. This would be the time on the agenda to come forward if you wanted to address council, or yeah, you're more than welcome. Come on down. Like I said, you didn't have to let us know ahead of time that you're coming. Please have a seat, and all you have to do is introduce yourself so that we have your name for a recording secretary and the people watching you on TV know who you are. Yeah, so exciting, right? But we don't bite.
That's what Laurel told me too. So
Yeah, welcome.
I'll trust her.
Welcome.
So my name's Ellen Bowles, and I'm the Vice President of Local 744 here at Grande Prairie for the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. And I'm sure there's probably been a lot of discussion or some release in the media lately about the possible labor dispute. So I had seen Councillor Kuss at the Pride Parade, and he had welcomed me to come here today. So thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to meet you, Mayor Bill. So essentially, yeah, I just want to kind of talk about some of the ideas that the postal workers are kind of advocating for right now for service expansions within Canada Post. With the obvious, declining of mail volumes and so forth, we're bringing forth ideas that would aid in providing for a sustainable, profitable post office. So I'll just start here. So Canada Post has made profits for 19 out of the last 21 years, and it's netted almost $100 million in profits. So over the last 5 years, we've noticed a lot of service cuts, and one of those is the removal of the door-to-door services. So currently in Grande Prairie, I think there's about 11,000 houses that still receive door-to-door here, and with the halt of the conversion to I call them self-serving mailboxes, because I don't believe that they are a community mailbox, because you're forcing now people to go out of their house to get their mail as opposed to our workers bringing it to their door. We were projected to go through a restructure here in October, which by April of 2017, all residents in Grande Prairie would have their door-to-door delivery services removed. So that raises a lot of concern for me. I believe that with the profits that Canada Post is making right now, we should be able to get the mail to people's doors. And so to speak to that as well, some of the initiatives that our union and other activist groups are working towards is promoting the idea of postal banking. So I'm not sure if anybody's heard of postal banking, but Canada used to have postal banking for over 100 years. And from, in 1908, it actually had a reserve of $48 million in it. And so it wasn't until, I believe, 68 where the large banks came in and kind of wiped out that postal banking. I believe it still is spoken to. I could be wrong in the sense of it being in the Canada Post Charter. So the language still there. And postal banking is a great idea for remote northern communities. What it is it's basically offering members of the community access to basic banking needs without being gouged 300-500% on a $200 loan from some of the predatory payday lenders that we have. That obviously those profits should be brought back to the communities, right? So postal banking is something that we're really kind of advocating for, especially our local here in Grande Prairie. We extend as high level to Peace River as far as just to Hythe. So we do have a lot of post offices that could benefit from that. One of the statistics, I guess you can say, is there's something like 613 Aboriginal communities in Canada that have a post office, but only 50 have banks. So right off the bat, if we were to utilize the post office as a centralized hub to offer basic community needs, we could really rejuvenate our post office and have a future for people to have work in our communities. So that's postal banking. As far as, as far as restoring home delivery, there have been some reductions in door-to-door delivery services here in Grande Prairie. However, like I said, we still have, with the halt, we've kind of temporarily suspended that transformation up until now, which brings me to the fact that the Liberal government is conducting a federal review of Canada Post. So Minister Foote has been appointed to create a task panel to review Canada Post. So at this current time, there's a weekly questionnaire that's taking place, which is asked by the panel, and we're just encouraging members of the community to submit their opinions and their raise their concerns over the post office, because the last day of submissions is July 30th, and in that, what we're hoping to speak to is just restoring door-to-door delivery, asking Canada Post to release the study that they conducted. They conducted a 4-year study in regards to postal banking, and they won't release any of that information out to the public or to the postal workers. So we're encouraging people to kind of press that issue so we can see that, in fact, it is a win-win strategy. The other thing that it's full daily delivery of mail. So right now there's some discussion about alternate day delivery, and that's concerning to us because that just means service cuts to workers, and it also means to businesses and to residents. So there's no need for those types of service cuts when we have a profitable corporation. And I think that here, I deliver all of the downtown between 103 Avenue down to 93rd. I deliver to Laurel, so I thank her for participating with me today. And I noticed that, there's a lot of businesses that get a lot of mail every day. So to have an alternate day delivery system could really disrupt the mail flow and, the services that the public should be entitled to for the post office. So again, full daily delivery of mail, and it's service that we can count on. Another thing is services for seniors and others. So we are tremendously pressing this notion of caring for our communities. And one of the things that Japan actually does is they have their postal workers, customers pay a minimal fee to touch base with their postal workers, and they line up with seniors in need. So say, for example, if they have a person that's a senior that's at home with no one close by, they can hire your postal worker to quickly stop by and make sure that they're okay. Or if they need something, we are the eyes and ears of a community, and adding those services would benefit, again, the support of our community. So another, I won't go too much into this. It's just examples of some of the things that we're discussing and we're kind of fighting for right now in our negotiations. And we are not striking. There's been a lot of discussion about that. It's funny because Canada Post has been raising this concern over the postal workers striking, but we just finished conducting our strike vote. So it's been kind of a little bit of, I would say, manipulation in the media in terms of what the truth's behind where we are right now. And this is where our union is standing, is in service expansion and bettering services to Canadians across coast to coast to coast. So I would like to see that I would like to see that our community supports these initiatives and believes in the fact that people should have access to basic needs, and I think postal banking would offer an alternative for some. And also another concept too is food mail. We used to have food mail, so Canada Post used to hire, our workers used to transport food to remote northern communities. And at some point, while Harper was in power, that program got cut. And so now we have people paying very high rates of money for basic foods. And I actually just learned through the Friends of the Public Service that the person who owns that transportation company, his wage is $5.1 million. So to put that into perspective about, again, gouging our, maybe lower income and just northern remote people, it's something to take into consideration. So, I just really wanted to come and just explain kind of some of the innovations and really press the notion of the federal review. I would really love to see that Grande Prairie gets the opportunity to have their mail back in their own community. Currently, right now, any mail that gets is outgoing within the city is being transported all the way down to Edmonton, and then it comes all the way back from Edmonton to Grande Prairie, and that applies for high level and everywhere. So I'd rather see expansion and job creation and hire a few people so that we can get a faster turnover of our mail to people, and really touch base with providing a reliable and good reliability in terms of getting the mail out. So that's really what I came here for today, and I appreciate everybody's time. I have a book here that I didn't know if I should give out before or after, but this is, again, it's called Delivering Community Power, and the Friends of Public Services, who CUPW, in amongst other organizations, have come up with, and it discusses Canada Post's opportunity for service expansion. So I'd gladly hand these out afterwards.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Before you walk away, you can just leave them with our legislative services manager, and she'll make sure that they get passed around. But there may be some questions from council members. I see Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. Alan, thank you for coming. It's been an issue on my mind. I can remember FCM was in Niagara Falls a couple years ago, and I wore a button that said SOP, or Save Our Post Office, or Home Delivery. And then just after that, my mailbox was broken into. And it had a letter on it, go to this area in the city to get your mail. And then I went there and it said, well, we don't have your mail yet. And so a month almost went by and I didn't get my mail from there, and it came back to my original mailbox. So I think it's a very important issue where theft identity, your identity of yourself.
Yes.
And so I really encourage you working there and go strong on it. And I know the government has maybe a different perspective, but they're looking into it. But me personally, I felt invaded a bit. And so I'd like to know anybody that voted against not doing that last time the FCM when it went in favor of doing that, if their mailboxes were ever broken into, because we had a rash of 100 and some in the city and around the area. It may have been a couple hundred in 2 months around Christmas when people were sending money out and everything. So I think it's a very big issue.
Yeah, I do agree, Councillor. You know, there has been many issues with theft and vandalism in Grande Prairie pertaining to the self-serving mailboxes, as I call them, and it is an issue, and it's something that needs to be addressed, and we have to bring this forward. I mean, the solution at this point, I mean, restore door-to-door, or I'm not really 100% sure which direction the Liberals are going to take from this. Again, it's all part of the review, so I would encourage you to submit your experiences with regards to those particular types of boxes, because that's really at the heart of what we can do with that task panel, right? Yeah.
Any other questions to the delegation, comments? Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. Thanks for coming in, Ellen. It was
no,
really
you.
great running into you at the Pride Festival, and
Great success.
yeah, glad to see that you came here too. So 2 successes in 3 days. So we're all here.
Amazing.
So my question for you is, obviously this is all going out. I've been reading news on both sides of it: strike, lockout, more strike. That may be media manipulation, as you said. But that starts at the end of this month, like so July 1st. Like that's where you guys have to come to a decision between the two parties.
Yeah, essentially what happened is Canada Post in negotiations. We've been negotiating with Canada Post since January, and Canada Post appointed for conciliation. So Minister Foote appointed 2 representatives from the government to take place in that. And what that did is it kind of started the clock in terms of negotiating under conciliation. And so after 60 days, there's a 21-day cooling off period. And that after that 21 days cooling off period is now July 2nd of 2016. So at this point in time, our union is not wanting to strike. We are not, I can be honest with you, we really aren't going on strike. We're just sitting on the other side of the table trying to show Canada Post these opportunities for service expansion, and they don't really seem to want to listen to that. So there is a possibility that after the 21 days of cooling off, if the 2 parties agree, they can extend that conciliation time. And again, that's up to Canada Post and the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. And I don't feel, or from what I can see from our national, it doesn't seem as though Canada Post is really interested in doing that, which then puts us in a position that as of July 2nd, we are without a contract going into work. Canada Post is shutting off all of the postal workers' benefits, healthcare benefits, as of July 2nd. Yeah, they could lock us out, or they could get us to go to work without a contract, which also raises other concerns. So we don't really know what is going to happen as of July 2nd, but we're just trying to inform the public as far as, you know, the truth behind the union, in the sense that we're not out there saying that we're going to take strike action as a result of July 2nd. No.
So I for one, I'm with Councillor McLean here. I really appreciate my door-to-door service. I talk to my mailman every day, or almost every day, whenever I'm home, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? And I appreciate that service. So this is something that, me personally, I would hope that would continue. Now, I'm not sure of the will of council, but if any member of council or any member of the public who might be watching at home on their laptop on our live cast, how would we express our opinions to Canada Post? Is there a website we can go to, or?
Yeah, you can go on to it's actually canada.ca-Canada Post Review. And if you just type into Google Canada Post Public Review, the task force panel has created a website there that you can go in and follow through. There is an opportunity to answer the weekly questions. So they're asking weekly questions, but what you can also do is you can just write in your own submission on your support or concerns or however you want to approach the task force, just in talking about, keeping door-to-door services in Grande Prairie. Because maybe perhaps that question of the week isn't in reference to door-to-door delivery. It might have happened a few weeks ago, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and so we could even put in a submission like, hey, we approve like expansion of services,
Yes.
as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
I don't see anybody else in the queue. Thanks very much for making the time to come and present tonight. I'm sure council will be interested to see the information that you're going to hand out, and I appreciate the innovations that you highlighted from other postal services across the world. I think I've read some information that postal banking is alive and well in a number of other jurisdictions, and so I think it's a great idea to bring forward. Thanks very much for coming tonight to do that. Thanks so much. Is there anybody else that wish to come forward to speak to council tonight? Are there any other public delegations that wish to come forward? I don't see anybody coming towards the microphone, so I'll just finish off by saying that this opportunity does exist at every regular city council meeting. I certainly encourage members of the public to take the opportunity if they feel a need of a matter that they want to bring to council's attention. We will close the delegation portion of our agenda and move on. We have no public hearings tonight. We have no items of unfinished business, and that would take us to reports. And item 8.1, the strategic priorities chart from July to September 2016. And our acting city manager is going to introduce that for us. Director Grande.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Around mid-June, City Council and Administration met to update the strategic priorities chart. We can provide some updates in regards to the downtown enhancement plan. The award was issued last week. So construction in the downtown on 101st Street will start in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And there will be an update provided to Council by Administration at the end of August, showing the progress of the project. Under the advocacy priorities, a Municipal Government Act is an important topic. Last week, there was a session here in Grande Prairie where Council and Administration participated, providing feedback and input to the provincial government. And we will continue working with the province and our regional partners in terms of the new Municipal Government Act and the future regulations. We continue working with the federal and provincial government in regards to the enhancement of the relationship and promoting Grande Prairie priorities to those levels, federal and provincial. And in terms of the bypass upgrades and maintenance, there will be an item going to Council today in regards to the construction of Highway 43X, Ring Road, and the future transfer of jurisdiction of the old bypass, Highway 43, to the city, and an agreement, a letter of understanding that's being signed right now between the province and the city for capital upgrades and operations and maintenance in the future. In about 3 months, Administration and Council will meet again, and there will be another update of the strategic priorities chart. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks very much, Director Galante. Any questions or comments from Council? Councillor Radburn.
Mayor Given, I would move that Council approve the strategic priorities chart for the term July to September 2016.
Okay. Thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing nobody ringing in, then I will call for the vote. Thank you. Motion carries, and that'll take us to our additional agenda item, item 8.2, the Highway 43 transfer. Director Galante, can you introduce this topic for us?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Over the past 2 months, Administration has been dealing with Alberta Transportation on confidential basis. For now, it's a negotiation for the future transfer of Highway 43, the existing bypass, to the city. That is due to the construction of Highway 43X, Ring Road, for now on the northwest quadrant, on the north side from city limits, going south towards Ernest intersection, towards the new hospital, Staples intersection, and then west towards the airport. The total length of the road is about 13 kilometers. That will be transferred at the end of the construction of Highway 43X. The time frame for that from the province is approximately 2 to 3 years. A letter of understanding with some principles has been created and is going to be presented today for discussion. There are two main principles in this letter of understanding. One is a condition assessment of all the assets along the corridor. We're talking not only the road surface, but the structural base, curb and gutter, street lights, traffic signals, bridges, culverts, all the different assets along this corridor. So there will be a study funded by Alberta Transportation in coordination with the city and Alberta Transportation will determine the scope of the study, but the study will be funded by Alberta Transportation. It's going to take approximately 6 months to a year to complete, and we will have a baseline to plan our long-term capital plan for the corridor over the next 10 to 15 years. The other item is a grant, a capital grant, that Alberta Transportation will provide to the city for $20 million. It's going to be paid in 4 to 5 years. It's still a matter of negotiation of the details, but the total amount is $20 million. There will be a portion for operation and maintenance and a portion for capital upgrades, and we're going to use the study, the assessment study, to determine priorities to allocate funding for the long-term capital plan. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks very much, Director Glante. First, I guess I would look for a motion, and then we can have discussion and debate on the motion. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. I would move that Council direct the Mayor to write a letter endorsing the principles outlined in the letter from the province as to the transfer of Highway 43 into the city's jurisdiction.
Thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor. Given this is one of the motions in my 5 or 6 years, I feel like I'm almost forced to vote one way, and it really leaves me a bad taste. But that's about all I got to say on that one.
Yep. Thanks, Councillor McLean. Yeah, it's certainly the province has the authority to identify roads as under provincial jurisdiction or not, and certainly they have the ability to decide should they wish to cease labeling a road a provincial highway. They can do that at any time, and the result would be that the municipality would have to take the resulting local road. So I think it's probably a fair assessment to say that the city is between a rock and a hard place. Having said that, certainly it's a benefit to our community to have the new bypass built, and by coming to this agreement, we enable that or support the development of the new bypass. My understanding, though, Director Galante, was that there were some previous provincial studies done that administration has had a chance to review. Was there any estimate of potential future costs to improve the existing bypass?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is correct. Back in 2004, there was a study performed by Alberta Transportation identifying different thresholds for population, based on population. The new study will be based on traffic count, so it's more accurate. So under the 2004 study, it's a very high-level order of magnitude study, and the identification of priorities brought the total amount between 50 to 70 million, depending, again, certain priorities at that time. So we need to really refresh this study and update based on current developments, for example, like the new hospital. And other developments around the corridor that will change potentially the priorities, but that was the order of magnitude determined at that time.
Thanks very much, Director Galante. So certainly the $20 million isn't is not even half of the low estimate. So certainly I think Councillor McLean's concern is valid. The other concern that I have is with respect to ongoing maintenance of the highway prior to its turnover to the city. And so Director Galante, is that something that administration will stay in contact, or when would the highway become the responsibility of the city, and who maintains jurisdiction for repair and maintenance in the interim?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The transfer of jurisdiction will occur at the end of the construction of Highway 43X, so we're talking between 2 to 3 years from now. In the meantime, Alberta Transportation will perform all the snow removal, road patching, potential overlays, all maintenance on the assets along the corridor. As part of the conversations and negotiations, as part of the final memorandum of understanding, to come up with an agreed level of service and level of maintenance for this period of time, for the next 2 to 3 years. So the city will sit with Alberta Transportation to determine what is a reasonable level of service capacity in order to receive the assets in 2018, 2019, when Highway 43X is finished.
Thanks very much, Director Galante. Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. In speaking to this road, is there any capital assets planned by the government right now in the near future before we potentially take over?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, through you to Councillor O'Toole, there is nothing on the capital plan in terms of capital upgrades for the 13-kilometer corridor. The only budgeted amounts are for maintenance and regular operations like snow removal in wintertime.
Thank you. Director Galante. Any other questions or comments? We do have a motion on the floor. Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, McGovern. Just three quick comments. In addition to our expectation that the province would at least maintain the standards and conditions of the road before we take it over, I think that's something that admin will be working with, but I think that would be a reasonable expectation of the city of Grande Prairie. So that's one. The second one would be that I would think this would be a regional service resource, and I would again expect that when we get to our intermunicipal collaboration framework agreements, that this should be prominent in our discussions with our regional partners. And thirdly, I think the assessment that is one of the principles I think will be useful to us in knowing what were future costs, and will give us further information to continue to advocate with the provincial government for increased funding in addition to that $20 million. Thank you, Mayor Gibbon.
Thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Any other discussion or debate? I don't see anybody else in the queue, so I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Would take us into committee business. Item 9.1, the Pursuit of Excellence Committee from June 9th, and Councillor O'Toole, I think that was your committee.
I move that Council receive the minutes of the Pursuit of Excellence Committee meeting held Thursday, June 9th, 2016, as presented.
Thanks very much, Councillor O'Toole. Any discussion or debate on that set of minutes? Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. Thank you very much, Councillor O'Toole. I just, item 3.2 under the Arctic Winter Games Legacy Fund, it said that it was carried by a margin of 4-3, but I happened to notice that County Councillor Daryl Beeston had voted for and against, so. Okay, well, now that that's clear, thank you very much. All right, we're good then.
Both, sounds like a couple council members caught that one. Anything that you wanted to highlight from that set of minutes before we adopt them, Councillor O'Toole? Yes, Mayor. And just have to turn on your microphone after the question. Thank you.
Better. There we go. There was a number of sports that were funded. That we have mixed martial arts. There's a local gentleman going down to compete in the World's Amateur and a coach. Also hockey and mountain biking, Irish dance, volleyball, gymnastics. We had a delegation from Nighthawk talk about the adventure park down there and a program that they were looking at initiating here in the beginning of July. We did talk a little bit about the Arctic Winter Games Legacy Fund, and we took some money out for a girls' sports empowerment camp, which will be held at the Nighthawk Adventure Park. Funding went to athlete development, clinic hosting, coach development, athlete travel, coach travel, and one of the things that this committee is looking at is considering a recognition event. We don't know exactly the process or where we're going to do it, but it has been a topic for a couple of years now, and I think we've got it to where we want to go forth. So we're going to be meeting again in September, and we will come up with some, maybe solidify some dates and times and what the process is going to be.
Thanks very much, Councillor O'Toole. Any discussion or debate on the motion to receive the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. And that would take us to Councillor Radburn and Council Committee of the Whole meeting.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I would move Council receive the minutes of the Council Committee of the Whole meeting held Monday, June 13th, 2016 as presented. Two items on this agenda for those watching tonight were the downtown rehabilitation tender and the SBCA update, both of which we actually took action in the last council meeting. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Any discussion or debate on that set of minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you, and that motion carries. And it would take us to 9.3, the Community Growth Committee meeting from June 14th. Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I move that Council approve the minutes of the Community Growth meeting of June 14th, 2016 as presented.
Thanks very much, Councillor Clayton. Any errors or omissions that we need to catch from that set of minutes? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Clayton, anything you want to highlight from the set of minutes from that meeting?
No, I think that pretty much everything is self-explanatory there. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Clayton. Item 9.4, Community Living Committee meeting. Councillor Tarrant.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I'll move the Community Living Committee meeting minutes of June 14th.
Thanks very much. Any discussion or debate on that set of minutes? Any errors or omissions that we need to correct? Well, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you, and I think I'm looking for one more, Council. Just make sure your vote was registered. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Tarrant.
All right, a few motions coming out of this meeting. So the first one is that we give first reading, Council give first reading to Bylaw C-1332, being the Grande Prairie Cemeteries Bylaw. Speaking to that, there was a number of changes made to the bylaw in terms of making the language a little bit easier to read. Also, there was the inclusion of the columbarium, and there was changes to the fee schedule as well to modernize it and bring it in more in line with other municipalities.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Tarrant. I'll call for the vote on first reading. Please vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Tarrant.
I will move second reading of Bylaw C-1332.
Thanks very much, Councillor Tarrant. Any discussion or debate on second reading of Bylaw C-1332? Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I'm just going to direct it to Director Gary Roth on the fee schedule. It's just like, simple, but it was only 3 or 4 years ago, and the fees were increased in 2012. What's the fees going up on, say, a couple of them, say an adult burial of the plot and, say, a child? Is it going up a couple $100 just on the adult one?
Director Roth.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, for some examples would be for a standard adult plot, the fee is going to increase from $400 to $600. Another example might be a standard infant plot would be from $200 to $300. These fees are all being increased based upon comparator municipalities in the province.
Thanks, Director Roth. Councillor McLean.
No, thank you. I'm glad to.
Questions? Okay. Any other questions, discussion, or debate on the motion for second reading? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Tarrant.
I will move that we have third reading of Bylaw C-1332.
Sure. Thanks very much, Councillor Tarrant. So, council members are familiar with the routine. This is a motion to have third and final reading of the bylaw here tonight. In order for this motion to be successful, it must pass unanimously. If it does not pass unanimously, then third reading of this bylaw would come back at our next council meeting. Any discussion or debate as to the merits of having third reading here tonight? I don't see anybody ringing in, so I'll call for the vote on having third reading. Thank you. That motion does not carry unanimously, so we'll have third reading come back at our subsequent council meeting. Councillor Tarrant on to 9.4.2.
All right. I will move that council transfer up to $25,000 from the future expenditure reserve fund to cover a funding shortfall for the Jubilee Park irrigation system project for a total budget of $100,000.
Okay. Thanks very much, Councillor Tarrant. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just a quick question to Councillor Tarrant. What was the shortfall? So up to 100, the tender comes in at 90, but what were we under originally for the budget?
Councillor Tarrant?
Yeah, we'd originally budgeted 75,000, and they added. So the tender, well, you'll see, come in at 90,000, so they went up to 100,000 just to give a bit of a contingency.
Thank you.
Any other discussion or debate? Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just direct question to Councillor Tarrant or to the director. This was the lowest bid, and there was quite a difference between the lowest bid and even the second bid on this. Like, we're talking 60,000. It was a pretty high difference.
How competitive a bid process was this? Do you have that information at hand, either Director Roth or Councillor Tarrant? My recollection is the same as Councillor McLean's. There was a fairly big spread. I have a feeling that the director's fingers are working on the mouse there to find the committee report. Director Roth, we'll turn it over to you once you've found it.
Thank you, Your Worship. The bid spread was from 150,000 to 90,000. So this is the best bid, certainly.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion or debate? Seeing none, then I'll call for the vote. That motion carries. Councillor Tarrant.
I'll move that council award tender T-45-432-16, the Jubilee Park irrigation system to Be Green Irrigation, Inc., in the amount of $90,239.10.
Okay, thanks very much, Councillor Tarrant. Any discussion or debate on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Tarrant.
Perfect. We'll move on to the neighborhood matching grants. I'll move that council award $19,325 to the Neighborhood Enhancement Matching Grants Program for the following projects.
Sure. Thanks very much, Councillor Tarrant. And maybe just to make you work, it can be useful for the public that might be watching if you just would like to list the projects and the amounts so that people can see if their neighborhood was one of the ones that received the grant.
Absolutely. So we had a number of, I believe all of the submissions were accepted under the program. So there was the Mountain View Neighborhood Association receiving $5,000 for the purchase and installation of 10 benches. Highland Park Neighborhood Association in the amount of $4,500 for the purchase and installation of 16 neighborhood banners. Country Club for the amount of $3,150 for the purchase of neighborhood banners as well. Cobblestone and Riverstone neighborhood associations for $2,250 for the purchase of 3 picnic tables for their three neighborhood parks. Royal Oaks Neighborhood Association, $2,700 for the building and installation of an outdoor concrete ping pong table. And the Pinnacle Neighborhood Association in the amount of $1,725 for phase 2 of the front entrance water feature beautification project. And also just make note that it is a matching program, so the neighborhood associations have to come up with either the funds to match or comparable labor or gift in kind to match. And the volunteer hours also play into the calculation.
Thanks very much, Councillor Tarrant, for highlighting that. Any discussion or debate? Councillor Radburn.
Given just a quick comment. I certainly will be supporting this motion. Patricia Trout works with our neighborhood associations, and I think we're up to 16 or so now. We're getting up there. All 6 of the applications were supported. And Patricia works with them in terms of how to make the application and make sure that that I guess the I's are dotted and the T's crossed, so to speak, but supports them in their application. The other thing I think she has, this isn't even half, I think, of the money she has in the budget, or we have put in the budget. So there's another intake, I think, later on this year. But this is a way that the city can support the activities of our neighborhood associations. And I think it's an excellent source of fun to rally communities around particular projects that will benefit their neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Adwin. Absolutely true. Any other discussion or debate? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Tarrant, I think you got one more piece of business.
One more item. I will move that council approve the South Montrose Master Plan. So as council has been seeing for over the last year or so, we've been diligently looking at this plan. And, you know, although we have lots of different inputs and lots of different views, I think we came together and created a pretty great plan, building on the success of former master plans and former consultations. And I think we have a very detailed plan that going forward with enough flexibility built in that we can have a great civic center and great core addition to the core of the city.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Councillor Tarrant. Any discussion or debate? Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor. Given I want to concur with Councillor Tarrant, I think it's very important to have the plan for when it develops into a certain envelope will be down the road. But number one is I remember when I first started hitting radar for me is where certain developers wanted to build nice little condos there. And that was squashed by previous councils, which thank goodness they had the foresight. And then also there was one with about transit buses, and thank goodness that was changed too. So I think the plan's the way moving forward what may prevail on this piece of land.
Thanks very much, Councillor McLean. Any other discussion or debate? Councillor Adwin.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just a couple things I want to, what I'm pleased about is that we've respected kind of the work of a group a number of years ago who started the initial kind of visioning for this site. And so I think that was important, that we respected that and we've enhanced it, but the basic tenets of the plan kind of started way back then. And as Councillor Tarrant has mentioned, I really appreciated the fact that I guess our consultants and admin have provided some options, i.e. flexibility, so that we can move forward in a phased manner, which will probably, obviously, given the cost of everything, that we will have to undertake that phased journey. So pleased to support the plan tonight.
Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. Yes, this process has taken quite a long time. The consultants have worked with us and tried to give us options. And like Councillor Radburn had said, we did acknowledge past visions, and we're looking for the future, and I'd be supporting this 100%.
Thanks, Councillor O'Toole. I would just want to say that I think that council is finally, this council, after a number of councils have sort of struggled with what to do with the Montrose site, has really met the community's desire to have a cohesive overall plan for the site. I think that was the biggest concern with any of the previous projects that came forward. One of the things that I heard as a council member was don't deal with these things in isolation. Ensure that there's a plan for the whole site. And I'm not certain. Well, actually, sorry. I am pretty certain that this council won't be the one that will build out the rest of that site, given the scale of the rest of the development and the other projects there. But I think we've done an excellent job of meeting the interests of the community and ensuring that future councils have a plan that they can follow as they see fit. And so I want to commend administration for their work in engaging the community. I know that the consultants at administration did a lot of work to ensure that the community was involved in the plan. But it's actually something that I see as a marketing document for our downtown core that demonstrates the direction that the community and council see for our downtown. It doesn't mean that everything's going to get built tomorrow, but it absolutely speaks to our future intention. It should be something that we're proud to show off and proud to demonstrate to others so that we can demonstrate where we feel that downtown is going, so that hopefully we can attract their investment in our downtown core as well. I don't see anybody else in the queue, and if there isn't, then I will call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Was there anything else to highlight from that set of minutes, Councillor Tarrant?
That covers everything.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to 9.5 Community Safety Committee meeting from June 21st. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. Despite the fact I don't have as much heavy lifting to do as Councillor Tarrant, I would move that Council receive the minutes of the Community Safety Committee meeting held Tuesday, June 21st, as presented.
Okay. Thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen. Any discussion or debate on that motion? No errors or omissions we need to fix in those minutes? Looks like there are none, so I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor Thiessen.
Yeah, and only one order of business here today to discuss time extension request for the registration of subdivision Z13-0006. And I would move that council deny the request to extend the period for subdivision registration to June 3rd, 2017 for Z13-0006. And in speaking to this motion, this plot of land is to the east of the existing Summerside development. It has been motioned to be delayed and committee figured we didn't want to set the precedent of extreme delay, so we just decided to deny the request as per administration's recommendation.
Thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Councillor Tarrant.
Just a question, how many times has it been extended thus far?
Yeah, there was two times, once in 2013, once in 2015, to move it forward to this time, and then we got the third submission. But to date, no council, as we had discussed, had ever extended a deadline 3 times over.
Was there concerns expressed at the committee in terms of the plan and as it sits regarding current planning practices today?
No, nothing like that was discussed. In fact, yeah, simple answer.
Any other discussion or debate? Just to speak to the one point which Councillor Thiessen I think did make, in my experience, the city's practice has been that administration has the authority to grant a 1-year extension, and then beyond that, council has the ability to grant another year extension, and could do so indefinitely. But in my experience, I have never been on a city council where a 3rd extension was approved, and I think the intent is to ensure that councils have the ability to adapt to future engineering standards or design standards that may be adopted. Doesn't necessarily mean that there are any that are different from the previous plan, but there may be some that would come up in over the course of the extension period, and so I think that that's been the intention of the councils. But that's just my view from my time on council. Any other discussion or debate on the motion? I don't see anybody else in the queue, so I'll call for the vote. Thank you. And that motion carries. Councillor Thiessen, anything else to highlight from that 7 minutes?
Not really too much of anything. There was a referral from council in regards to signage in the back alley behind the Cairn building, but that was put off to see how the area develops and the type of traffic that comes from the new parking lots once they're there. So as of to date, no action was taken on that.
Okay. Thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen. We didn't have any items of correspondence this evening. We did have 2 delegations. I think the first was handled when we received the check from the Grande Prairie Residential Society, but the second with respect to Canada Post and the presentation that was made there. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Gibbon. I thought I was going to try to make 2 here, but I'll make the one on the Canada Post.
No, absolutely. Sorry. Yeah, fair enough. If there's a motion to be made coming out of any delegations, by all means.
I'll make the one to bring forward, put a motion forward for information on the Canada Post initiatives that they're trying to do, on what they brought forward as delegation.
Sure. Sorry, for information. Do you mean to refer to the appropriate standing committee? Just to receive for information. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks very much, Councillor McLean. Okay. So a motion to receive for information. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion carries. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to move that the Grande Prairie Residential Society check presentation, check amount of $55,895 to the City of GP be brought to the right committee for discussion on proper reserve for the monies.
Maybe Councillor McLean, because I think the proper reserve is pretty clear. It would be that affordable housing reserve. Maybe it would actually be about potential future use of the monies.
That's what I'm looking at, barrier free, but in whichever way, discussion to the right committee.
Okay. So refer the future payments from the Grande Prairie Residential Society to the appropriate standing committee for discussion. Okay. Any discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. That motion motion carries. That I think handles all of our delegation business, unless there's something else that I missed, which wouldn't be unheard of. It doesn't look like there was. We have no notices of motion tonight, so that'll take us to council member reports, and we'll start with the community futures of Grande Prairie and Region. Councillor O'Toole.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. We had our meeting here just last week, and at the meeting we had an audit done, external audit, and it come up with high praise. We were sitting very good with all aspects of an audit, which makes the board members quite pleased. There was a number of funds at that meeting. It was a long meeting, about 4 hours long. It was a number of funds distributed to some potential clients. Actually, they are now clients, I guess. And yeah, that's about where we are. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Councillor O'Toole. Next would be Disabled Transportation Society. Councillor Radburn, I think that's your committee.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just a bit of a report on the June 23rd board meeting. I don't think I'd inform the council that Frank Appel is our new chair. Phyllis Cash is past president, so we have a new chair. And in terms of our business planning, we're looking at staff over the next number of months, staff remuneration, banking services upgrade, updating, review our and update our bylaws, and looking at membership or ride fees. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Radburn. The next is the Grande Prairie Public Library Board. Is that you as well, Councillor Radburn?
It is. Thank you, Mayor Given. Just a quick report on the June 14th board meeting. We received and reviewed and approved personnel policies updates. We received the library director performance appraisal. Director Maureen Curry is doing an excellent job based upon that performance review. And the planning committee is still looking at, as Maureen might have mentioned, or did mention at committee, we're looking at membership fees and library community access points. That's our planning committee are looking at those particular items. And we did receive formal confirmation that the provincial funding does reflect our updated census numbers. So that helps the Grande Prairie Library to a tune of about $75,000. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Keep your microphone on because I think you've got Nighthawk Recreation Board as well.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just quick check. June 15th was both our AGM and our regular meeting. And I just wanted to update the board of the new executive. Past president is Brian Freemark. The president is now Angie Logan. Vice President Tom Watts. Secretary is Whitney Wild. And the treasurer is Nelson Winia. And the Doug Marshall Motor City Fund has been supported by our recent golf tournament. And those monies will be used to upgrade the chalet deck. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Radburn. Councillor Thiessen, you had a Water North Coalition report.
Yes, thank you very much. I felt very fortunate. This was actually my first meeting I was able to make without any conflict of other time and committee meetings. But yes, we met on June 23rd in Lacrete, Alberta. We had many provincial people in attendance and on the phone. We received a couple presentations from the province on flood mitigation and the resiliency program, otherwise known as the Community Resiliency Program. We also got updates on the wetlands policy and the province's move to sustain groundwater supplies for municipalities that depend on that. And we also received a report on lead in water from Deborah Mooney with Alberta Health. Some of the conversations that we did have, especially regarding the Community Resiliency Program, it was interesting because they brought up a pie chart, and this happened right after they talked about the wetlands policy and how important 40% of the land mass up here in the north is used on preserving wetlands and stuff, and how we need to protect that. But then when they were talking about flood mitigation and resiliency under the Community Resiliency Program, they showed a pie chart which reflected 6% of $500 million in funds over the next 10 years being directed up north to 40% of our areas to protect. So I was not hesitant to, question them on that. I don't know if I received the response that I like, but I like seeing them squirm, and it was really good. And I said, hopefully in the future, despite the fact we don't have the population, we do have the land base. And when we're talking about flood mitigation and resiliency and knowing the importance of wetlands, that we should be putting some kind of extra funding, more than the 6% that we're already receiving up here in the north, towards preserving those areas and ensuring that floods don't happen up here. For a town like Peace River, which is built right in the floodplains like Calgary and High River, every season they're at risk of that flood too. So I was made sure to say that. And also the lead and water, Deborah Mooney had a big presentation and said that no amount of lead is good. And I challenged her on that one as well. I had a little Dwight Logan sitting on my shoulder saying to me back when we were talking fluoride that it's not within our purview or jurisdiction. So when I mentioned that hydrofluorosilicic acid does have trace amounts of lead in it, and if no amount of lead is good, then maybe we should consider the use of this practice across the province. And I said, I have a Alberta Health Services report to back it up. She said, send it to me, and I did. So hopefully they'll look into that, and we'll have no lead in our water system someday in the future.
Thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen. Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I did have one report to add. I wanted to report that the Prairie Art Gallery recently held their AGM, and it was a well-attended event. At the AGM, we reviewed the financials as well as going over highlighting some volunteer work that has happened over the year. There was an election of a board, and I just wanted to update you all on the board. Kendra Davis remains as the chair, Nick Radutko as a vice chair. Ken Houseco was elected to the board. Jocelyn Morgan, Candace Pobkett is returning. Myself, John Carswell is returning. Mary Quinn returning, and as well Michael Morgan. Sorry, is now appointed as treasurer, and one addition as well as Terry Gorgachuk. So it was a good meeting. A couple new people and a few returning. So. We had our first board meeting tonight, but I had to leave early to come to council, so I'll report on that next meeting.
Great. Thanks very much, Councillor Clayton, and thanks for making sure we caught that one. And we'll start council member roundtable. Maybe Councillor Clayton, we'll start with you since you were just there. You will have to turn your microphone back on.
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just a couple things to report. I had the opportunity with many councillors around the table to meet with Minister Gray, the Minister of Labour. It was a good discussion in regards to items she is working on, as well as I attended with Councillor Radburn and Councillor Thiessen the GP Friendship Center National Aboriginal Day dinner, and that was very well attended. The room was packed. It was a great sort of evening. And one other item, I attended the Performing and Media Arts Center Stakeholder Workshop, which was a good discussion on opportunities that are in the future in regards to performing and media arts. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Clayton. Councillor Tarrant, would you like to go next?
Thank you, Mayor Given. Just wanted to touch on the one Councillor Clayton referred to was the Performing Arts Center, looking at things with the consultant, doing some big vision, big sky, blue sky visioning there, and it was good to see lots of different players in the room from all sorts of aspects of the community, from performing arts to dance to music, drama, all over the place, and lots of different users. And it was great seeing the enthusiasm in the room. And as we build this long-term project, I think that we're off to a good start.
Thanks very much, Councillor Tarrant. Councillor Radburn.
Thank you, Mayor Given. I'll just highlight the two items, two events that I was on the program at. And one was the National Aboriginal Day Dinner and Proclamation. Thank you for colleagues for joining me. And it really was organic tacos are a big hit. Big hit. And it was just good to see the support for the Grand Prairie Friendship Center. And secondly, I was part of the ribbon cutting at the Encore Suites by Service Plus Inn. And so that's right west of the casino. It's a new hotel, and actually really sharp, and quite impressed with it. So, and a good turnout. So I was pleased to be able to represent the mayor and council at that event. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Radburn. Councillor O'Toole, you'll just have to get your own microphone there.
Thank you very much. It was a pretty exciting week last week. We went to the MGA review. It was interesting and very full hotel room where there was some major discussion going on. A couple highlights as well. I did attend the Grand Prairie Pride event at the Teresa Sargent Hall. Took everybody by surprise that the place was packed, and it was the very first Pride event held in Grande Prairie. So actually quite proud that I was able to be there amongst others that were there. And this is a little off topic, but I'm on the Dinosaur Museum board out there, and we will be having approximately 100,000 people come through the event as we opened last September. It'll be sometime this week, so there's a major prize going out to that individual. So if you haven't been to the Dinosaur Museum, there's a good potential that you could be number 100,000. So thank you very much.
Thanks very much. That's a pretty quick timeline to hit 110,000. Thanks very much for giving this heads up, Councillor O'Toole. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Given. I did not actually get a chance to attend the MGA review, but I did join Mayor Bill Given in Olds, Alberta for the Mayor's Caucus meeting on the MGA presented by AUMA. I was very honored to sit with other elected mayors from around the province, and I'd have to say, Bill, you did quite a heck of a job. You gave Grande Prairie a really strong voice and gave everyone food for thought over things that we should be bringing forward to the government. So it was nice to see in action with the other big players, and that was really great. A couple events that I do really want to touch on. On the 20th, I was the only council in attendance, and I wasn't even invited as a councillor, but there's a solstice celebration. I thought it had something to do with Aboriginal Day. It was quite neat. It had nothing to do with Aboriginal Day. But it was just a celebration of the solstice and the full moon on the same day, which is well attended, lots of vendors, 400 people down at the amphitheater down in Muskogee Park, 70 of which, myself included, partook in a guided meditation as the main event. And it's not often that you can hold that many people in that space without any entertainment kicking around, and let alone a guided meditation that only maybe a quarter of the participants were involved in. So that was really good, really eye-opening for me, really seeing how Grande Prairie is progressing. And that sort of took me all the way to Saturday, where I've been calling it my day of war and peace, because earlier in the day I had the privilege to be at the Afghanistan monument, I guess, Kickstarter campaign for the monument that's supposed to be set up in Decor Armories. Councillor Radburn was in attendance, and I gave greetings on behalf of the city. Of course, even though we're talking about war, I gave it a very heavily slanted peace flavor. And after that was all said and done, and after getting ribbed by MLA Wayne Drysdale for not wearing a flashy color, because I was wearing army greens, I went home and changed into this pink outfit and partook in the first ever Pride Festival that was taking place in the GPRC parking lot, and I gave greetings there as well on behalf of the city. And I must say that event as well was very well attended. Probably about 1,000 people by head count when I was there, which was quite impressive. Many families, and I got to be honest, I've been to a few Pride events, and I was concerned that it might not be family orientated, because not all of them are around certain tents, but this was well organized, well geared to the people in attendance, and I can't say more than enough how proud I am of the organizers in our community who put together such a successful weekend event that was so well received by the public.
Thanks very much, Councillor Thiessen. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor Given. As all councillors know, the last couple of weeks were very hectic and busy, and I would have been through a lot more, but sometimes you have family issues you have to contend with. But the few of them I'm going to talk to that I did write down that I went to, and I went to more, and I know we had a busy 2 weeks. I'm going to speak to we had a retail market analysis of GP, which I thought was very, very informative. And one of them I want to touch on is about $3.7 billion in total trade area retail spending, a compass area of 200-some thousand people. But it was how it's broke down in groceries and comparison merchandise. It's really good. It's on the city webpage. So when you think that we're retracting, we're actually not right now. We're kind of still growing. So that was the biggest thing I got out of there. I'm going to go off what Councillor Radburn said about National Aboriginal Day celebrations at Friendship Center. I picked up my children, went there, Kendra and Kara. But the thing is, it was packed. It was the most packed I've ever seen the Friendship Center in my life. There was no room to move. And my kids were in the lineup near the back, and they were hungry. So let's just say we went to McDonald's, and I never got no bannock. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. And so the other one I'll speak to is we had a talk with Weyerhaeuser about briefing on the Caribou recovery planning They just wanted to give us some information. They gave MD review information because they're FMA areas in the county of Grande Prairie, and they're going to come back to us in the fall. Where I do think it's very important because our caribou numbers are going down, but we don't really have a certain amount of data to show how far, or maybe they might increase. So I'm hoping that they'll have more information in the fall. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor McLean. Councillor Logan.
The only item I'll mention is the meeting with the minister that Jackie has already referred to. It seemed like an incredibly busy couple of weeks, and I could sort of, from what everybody else has said, it's sort of, oh yeah, there was that. It was a good time, I believe, for our community this last couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Councillor Logan. I just will, you're right, a number of the events have already been mentioned, so I'll just note that last week we had the pleasure of hosting the Northern Alberta Mayors and Reeves Caucus. This is a group that is hosted by the City of Edmonton, typically is hosted by the Mayor of Edmonton, and has existed for quite some time. Mayor Don Iveson, in his first term here, has decided that there's no reason that the meetings always had to be hosted in Edmonton. And so last year, they, for the first time, moved one of the meetings out of Edmonton. Edmonton still hosts, but last time it was in Fort McMurray, and this year they came to Grande Prairie. Certainly appreciated the opportunity to host the Mayors and Reeves in Grande Prairie and show off a little bit, but also explain a little bit about what makes our region tick and how it might be distinct from other regions in the north. And in support of that, we had the opportunity to invite some local speakers to present to the Mayors and Reeves. We had Seven Generations Energy presenting with respect to oil and gas development, or particularly natural gas development, what it looks like in the Grande Prairie region, what the resource is, and what the future outlook for that is. We had Aquaterra present on their regional model and the services that they provide to our municipalities and that they're capable of providing to other municipalities across the province. And then Grande Prairie Regional College, President Don Natchek presented to the assembled group with respect to some of the things that are happening at GPRC and the community's drive to look for Polytechnic University status, and the college's desire to be able to meet that community request. So it was great to see those organizations represent our Grande Prairie region, and there was a lot of question and discussion. We also had the opportunity to take Mayor Iveson and all the other Mayors and Reeves to the Dinosaur Museum, and every one of them said, "This was fantastic. I'm so glad we came and had this chance to have the visit, but it wasn't long enough." And we said, that was exactly the point. It was just a teaser so that you're going to come back up again. And I think absolutely there will be others. But it's interesting, as we were organizing the event, Mayor Iveson, a number of times through his staff, as we're trying to juggle times and everything, said that he absolutely had to get to the Dinosaur Museum. The tour had to stay a part of the program. He was determined that the entire group would get out there in person when it looked like we may not be able to do that because of the minister's visit. So I think the word about the Philip J. Currie Dinosaur Museum is absolutely getting around the province. So, I mean, we all know that it is, but it's becoming a must-see attraction for when people come to our region, which I think was exactly the intent. So it's good to see. And I just wanted to reflect on this weekend. I was so proud of our community over the weekend. I attended 3 different events, 2 of which have been mentioned already. Obviously, the Pride Day celebrations and the festival, the Family Festival, and the Party in White. And then National Aboriginal Day, which was actually the 20th anniversary of National Aboriginal Day. And so it was a pleasure to be able to be there and represent the community and City Council. And then I also attended a World Religions Conference. It was the 4th annual event hosted by a group of Muslim faith, and they had an opportunity to have a speaker from St. Paul's United Church there on stage, where they were highlighting the commonalities between the Christian faith and Islamic faith. And so I certainly appreciate that all of those 3 events demonstrated to me Grande Prairie at its best, where groups were working to show off what an inclusive community we are. That inclusivity takes dialogue and discussion. It takes work. It takes work to be inclusive. And that in the end, our diversity of our community is absolutely our strength. And in each one of those situations, sort of different facets. We had religion, we had gender and sexuality, and we had cultural, and it really spoke to me about how our community is doing a fantastic job of being open to one another and respecting one another. And I thought it was in high relief this weekend. I was very, very proud to have the opportunity to serve this community. And with that, we'll call our meeting adjourned.